In today's video, I'm going to show you how to fix a high hamstring tendinopathy.
Get up and get down, get up and get down.
Hey guys, thanks so much for stopping by the YouTube channel. Do you have pain all the way at the back side of your pelvis and been told that it's a high hamstring tendinopathy? Let's talk about this. First off, a little anatomy 101 on my friend Tommy here. At the very bottom of your pelvis, you have a bone right here. Some people will just call it your sit bone. That's where your hamstring muscles connect. It's called your ischial tuberosity. Now, in this position, sometimes people will develop a tendinopathy, which is basically an overload type injury that, especially at this area, is created by a lot of compression and maybe an amount of training that you weren't ready for. So if you just did a crazy amount of volume with some very deep squats, sometimes whenever that hip is in a very high flexed position, there's a lot of compression placed right in that area, which can overload these tendons that connect right there, and you'll develop a tendinopathy. So this is very different than a hamstring strain, which is often much lower. So it's going to be something that creates pain, usually in a very deep squat, or sometimes if you're sitting for a long time, just right in this area. Now, here's how you're going to do some testing to find out, are you really dealing with a high hamstring tendinopathy? You're going to do a bridge test, and we're going to load it in different positions. So you're going to start on your back and find a box. Now we're going to start with your knee bent at about 90 degrees. So from right here, this leg straight, this leg's at about 90, I'm going to come up and hold it for about 10 seconds. And I'm going to see, maybe rate my pain 0 to 10. Let's say that hurts like a 3 out of 10 pain. What I'm going to do next is I'm going to make it a little bit longer. So from right here, I'm going to take, and I'm not going to completely straighten my leg out, but have a little bit less bend. Now in this position, I'm now going to come up and hold for 10 seconds. And I'm going to rate my pain again 0 to 10. If your pain goes up, it is potentially, right in that area, a high hamstring tendinopathy. And the reason is because in this position, with less bend in my knee, I have the hamstrings in a lengthened position, which means I'm placing more load on this upper hamstring area to perform the motion. So there's more load going through the tendon, which when you're talking about tendinopathies, that's often the confirmation test. Now, what this means is that if you are having pain because it is load related, we're going to grade our rehab by first starting with isometrics. So what you're going to do is just take a band. We're going to use just a slingshot hip circle today, and we're going to do just a basic bridge and hold it for 10 seconds. Now we're going to go in a shortened position right here. My knees are close to my butt. My knees are driven out to the side, and I'm going to come up. In this position right here, I have no pain in my hamstrings. And you're going to hold for 10 seconds and use the cue, drive the toes away as if you're pushing a sheet away from you. You're going to hold for 10 seconds and back down. In something like this, a 10-second hold, if you're squeezing your glutes as hard as possible, knees out to the side, I always say, try to pretend like you're pinching a quarter between your butt cheeks. Your glutes are going to be on fire, and this will actually feel okay for most people who have a high hamstring tendinopathy. Now, if you get too long, sometimes that may increase your symptoms. So get your hips or your feet close to your butt, come up. You're going to do, like I said, 10 to 15 reps for a 10-second hold. Now, how do we progress this? You can go to single leg. Again, you're going to have more load through that tendon. So in this position, we're coming up. Again, 10-second hold if you can for about 10 to 15 reps, placing more load through that tendon of the hamstring and then back up. Now, once you're done with that, how do we progress? We're actually going to do an RDL. So we're going to take a kettlebell from Kettlebell Kings here, but you can use a dumbbell. You can use a barbell if you want. Most of the time, I like to have this weight in the opposite of the leg that I'm going to have in stance. From right here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to have my free leg straight, and I'm going to slowly drift down and then back up, making sure that my toe doesn't swivel out to the side, but I'm slowly, as you can see here, moving into hip flexion. So we're loading the hamstring. You should feel maybe a gentle stretch to the hamstring, but this should not create pain. If this reproduces your pain, it's not ready for you yet. You can either continue doing your bridges or even go down to a double leg RDL. Obviously, I'm using a light weight. You could do this with a barbell, but you want to use a load that allows you to put a little bit of load through the hamstring, but nothing that creates pain. Now for the RDL, one of our cues for a double leg, we're driving the knees out to the side just slightly, and we're pushing our butt back, bringing our chest forward, keeping that back completely flat. As you go down, I can feel the good load through my hamstrings and back up. Something like this, early on, we're gonna keep the tempo very slow and the weight light and progress in load as you can do so without pain. So, as right there, we have the bridge test. You've done the bridge either in double or progressed to single leg, eventually done some single leg RDLs. Now, an important thing to do whenever you're having a high hamstring tendinopathy, yes, we want to understand the load component to it, but I want you to see if there's potentially an underlying mobility issue or restriction that maybe led to the hamstring becoming so compressed and overloaded in the first place. And I want you to try the FABER test. What you're going to do, or the FABER test, sorry. You're going to lay on your back and you're going to have one leg up and over on your other side like this, and let that leg drop down as far as you can. Now in this position, you're gonna see how far does your knee drop down to the side. You can see right there, I've got maybe a fist position, and then you're gonna do the same thing to your other side. And what we're doing is testing for whether or not there's an asymmetry, a difference in side-to-side mobility. If you found that the hip that also has the pain in it cannot drop down nearly as far on that side compared to your other side, you are going to do an assisted hip airplane to work on your ability to open that hip up. So some people who develop high hamstring tendinopathies also have an underlying mobility issue. So if you could not let that hip drop down as far with this test, here's all you're gonna do. I'm gonna demonstrate on my left leg here, but you're going to grab a bar, get into a single leg RDL position. The bar is just for balance. In this position, you're gonna open your hip up as high as you can until you feel a light stretch deep within your hip joint right here, and then back down. Now slight bend in the knee, and make sure that that knee doesn't cave in as you open your pelvis up. So right here, and you're going to go as far open as you can, feel a light stretch deep within the hip joint, 5-second hold, and then back down. You're gonna do about 5 of those, and then retest and see if your hip can now open up fully. So there you guys go. That is sort of the progression for a high hamstring tendinopathy, of understanding first and foremost whether or not it's truly a tendinopathy based on the loading test with the 90-degree and then extended bridge. If you found that is more painful, we're definitely dealing with a load-related issue. Let's start off with some isometrics with a double leg bridge, holding for 10 seconds and then progressing to a single leg bridge. Eventually you're gonna get to the single leg RDL, which then you can then progress in load as you get better and better. You don't have to go light on those, but stay within a pain-free zone. And then eventually, I also want you to check your mobility to see if there's an underlying restriction that you weren't aware of that could have led to the issue in the first place. So, hope you guys enjoyed today's quick video on high hamstring tendinopathies. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments section below. And please subscribe to the Squat University channel if you feel like there's any value in the videos that I'm making for you guys. Until next time, guys, happy squatting.
They say that energy flows where attention goes, so I pay no mind. Why waste my time with all these negative cats scratching? So caught up in their egos, these people have lost.